Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Remnant 2. Dark Souls with Guns is back, complete with 3-player co-op and tons of improvements. Does it do enough to merit its sequel status? Let's find out. Remnant 2 is a sequel to 2019's Remnant from the Ashes, which I love by the way, and is a co-op third-person shooter with Souls elements and a heavy emphasis on replaying the game multiple times to unlock all that sweet gear. The story takes place right after Remnant, and while specifics aren't super important, the broad strokes are that you have these big world crystals that connect various realms/dimensions. You're gonna need to dimension hop around, killing 90% of what you run into in the hopes to salvage mankind. The minute-to-minute gameplay here is almost identical to Remnant 1. You have 2 categories of guns, each with their own ammo type, as well as a melee weapon. All of these are upgraded in Souls-esque Titanite style system. Killing bosses grant items that can be crafted into special unique weapons should you choose as well. Every weapon can also be equipped with both an augment and a mutator. Augments are abilities that recharge by shooting said weapon and range from simple stuff like fire bullets to more bombastic stuff like fire tornadoes. On the other hand, mutators are essentially powerful passives that can apply to the weapon to accent that gun's playstyle, such as improved crit damage, regenerating ammo, and more. The biggest difference here are classes. Remnant 1 didn't really have classes. Basically, you had a giant list of traits, which it still has, and you could level essentially an infinite number of times to get as many trait points as possible. Remnant 2 still has traits, but points are earned via an item only and are limited. Instead, your XP goes into your class, which you can equip up to 2, and they each come with up to 4 unique passives, a unique trait, and up to 3 swappable abilities. Leveling up classes increases their power and stats, and maxing a class allows that trait to be used without that specific class. As mentioned, you can have 2 classes at once and swap literally at any point when you're out of combat, meaning there's tons of options when it comes to build variety. Game progression follows a simple path where you visit 3 worlds, a labyrinth, and a final area. The 3 worlds are unique in that they are completely randomized every campaign you play, and inside each of these worlds is also randomized, which means you can find different bosses as well. This highly encourages replays, as each campaign won't be quite the same as the previous, as you farm the multitude of gear that you'll want for that perfect build. And that's the general idea of Remnant 2. Its minute-to-minute gameplay is very similar to 1, just refined, with a bunch of new systems to encourage strong build diversity. So what do I like about Remnant 2? Well, the shooting, rolling, and basic gameplay loop still feels incredible. I especially enjoyed the bosses this time around, as a lot feel better designed around co-op with less cheap mechanics, making the whole experience a fun challenge. Additionally, the new class system slots really well into the game, providing some specific choices around builds that the first game lacked, since you could just power through traits. Plus, the new passes are super duper strong. Additionally, this game is just so much fun in co-op. I don't think I can overstate it. The high challenge mixed with the excellent shooting and now even stronger build diversity means forming an ideal party and blasting enemies with some homies is sheer bliss. When it comes to the bad, my biggest complaint is the cap on trait points. I understand why they did it, but it means once you hit that cap and max your jobs, which doesn't take as long as you'd think, endgame grinds become just that, grinds for gear, meaning this game's endgame is much weaker than the first. Additionally, it might be launch issues, but I had a ton of problems getting co-op to connect smoothly on the Xbox version. I heard the PS5 version is even worse, but as co-op is a core feature, this game having pretty garbage netcode is a big problem. And lastly, I encountered more than a few bugs, such as warper enemies tossing me inside walls, game crashes, and more. And the game doesn't run well on pretty much any system, but especially on Series S, where it struggles to keep 30 FPS and has some absolute garbage resolution. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale: must play, maybe consider, and don't bother. And despite all these issues, I still highly recommend Remnant 2, especially since it's launching at only $50. It's basically more Remnant 1 with tons of improvements and a few missteps, and that game was an absolute gem. I really recommend grabbing 2 like-minded friends and giving this one a shot, as it's easily the best co-op experience I've had this year. Dark Souls with Guns still rules, so get out there and get blasting. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played Remnant 2, have you played Remnant from the Ashes? If you've somehow missed this series, I highly recommend grabbing either of these games, as they're both great, and playing them with buddies. But let me know what you think in the comments, and then go out there and make sure you give them a shot.